Way?
You need to
okay. So yeah, so the cash you should only be worried about is you need at least 6 months of runway to operate your company. For the bankers and the lawyers, when the money comes in, that's when we get paid. You don't pay us during the process. We don't take retainers. We're success fee only. Some bankers will take retainers, but your company gets sold, we get paid by the buyer right then. If it doesn't get sold, we get nothing. And the lawyers, they'll run up a bill there by hours, but again, you don't pay that, generally they'll work something out with you if the deal doesn't happen.
Okay. There was another question here, so I'll go this way. Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned that team is one of the most important things to the buyer. The team is the most important thing, basically. What if the team is not based in the US, it's based internationally?
Right.
What would you recommend?
Sure. So the other thing is, as M&A is going on, you don't want to expose too many of your team members to it, right? I know a lot of young companies have kind of an open door policy, and they share a lot of things that are going on with the company. As soon as the employees hear that you're for sale, they start to think about their jobs differently. So you keep it to a very tight group early on. So up until the term sheet phase, they've maybe met 3 or 4 of you. Now, if they think you're good, then they're relying on your instinct on the rest of the team. And you're going to tell them about the rest of the team. But they don't meet the rest of the team until you're in exclusivity. And sometimes, and I would say most cases, the rank and file don't find out until you actually sign the definitive agreement. And then what happens that day is the acquirer comes to your office, wherever it is, let's say it's international. They have a team on site with all the employee contracts ready. They have the details of the deal, and you sign the deal, so it's locked and loaded. The buyer can't get out, and then you go to the rest of the employees and say, we were just bought by Google, and here's your contract. Please read it, review it. If you need an attorney to kind of review it, you can. That's when you let the rest of them down.
Just, I wonder, is your question related to whether it's more difficult to sell your company if it's not based in the US right next to the buyer? Is that also part of the question?
The company is based in the US,
yeah.
But like part of the development team, the R&D team, which develops the IP is based internationally.
It's generally not an issue. The company we sold to Uber, they required that the whole team move to San Francisco. That's kind of unique. Generally, they're okay with people being spread out. They understand the cost of living here. So it's generally not a negative. But if they really want you fully integrated with the team that's here, it makes it a little bit harder.
Yeah, like in other sessions, I've heard various opinions. So some are happy to have kind of remote locations that are really good at dealing with that. And some others are not happy at all. They really want to have everybody kind of in the same place, the same few places. So it depends how independent your business can be, how much integration is required. In some cases, can actually be a deal breaker to be far away. Like I heard some kind of crazy case where actually Cisco acquired a company in the UK, and through some weird decision process, they were like, okay, we want to actually relocate everybody to India. That didn't go well with the UK team. So eventually they kind of stopped that and realized, okay, that's not going to happen. But there's some kind of strange things that happen there.
You mentioned that if Google acquires you, they are an at-will employer, and they can fire you without cause, right? Now, as I understand it, California is an at-will employment state. Is Google just the only one that practices that, or can you clarify on that?
Yeah, sure. So what I mean by that is the reinvesting portion, right? So I don't want to go further than that on employee law, but in the case where you have $10 million up front and you got $10 million at risk, and you're going to earn that, $2.5 million a year over 4 years. If they fire you, even if it's not for cause, the contract will say you don't get that extra money that you would have gotten from your stock. Every other company, you actually would get that unless you're fired for cause. If you're fired for cause, all that money goes away, any company you deal with. But Google's a little stricter on it, which says, hey, listen, you're here to compete. You're betting on yourself. If you're good enough to stay here for 4 years, then you'll get your money. And if you're not good enough to stay here for 4 years, you won't get your money. Everybody else so far to date will give it to you the other way.
Yeah, I'm going to go a bit on this side because we took like a bunch of questions here. So yeah.
I'm interested to hear your recommendations on how an entrepreneur should go about selecting the right banker to work with.
Oh, that's a good question. I think that one is you should have a long-term relationship with that person. So finding a banker right when the transaction's starting is not the best way to find one. So you should interact with bankers as you think about the process going forward. That doesn't require contracts with the bankers. That's just getting to know people over time. Most of your friends will have worked with bankers. So code advisors, we don't pitch. We don't go, like if somebody says, hey, we're having 5 banks brought in, and we're going to pick one, we don't go to those. We only go through word of mouth, through where we're recommended. So you're going to reach out to people and say, hey, I heard you worked with Will at Code Advisors. What do you think? So you've really got to work your pipeline a little bit to figure out who's kind of good. And the reason why you engage early is also to see if Will does anything for you. If you come to me and you're in the early stage and you say, hey, I really can't get to the right business guy at Amazon. I want to do a commercial deal. And I don't get you to that guy. Well, then I haven't done anything to earn your business, right? Bankers should be earning your business from kind of day one when you meet them. Doesn't mean they can do everything. They can't get you to every person at any of those buyers, but they should be doing things to help you. Maybe there's somebody in your fundraising process, like when you want to raise $15 million, and you can't get to Mark or Ben and Andreessen. And you say, hey, Will, can you make that introduction? If I do those things for you, then I'm proving that I am good and I'm doing things for you. That's another way to build a relationship.
How early can the founder go to talk to a banker?
So it depends on the company. I mean, Goldman Sachs, you're not going to get a lot of attention when you're worth $50 million. Nothing wrong with Goldman Sachs. They're the best IPO bank on the planet, and they're a great bank. Code, other smaller banks, you'll get more attention at that size. That's kind of what we deal with, and that's what we do. So it's hard to get the large banks when you're kind of small. There are a lot of boutiques out there, and you just do your research and find them at the right time. But you could call us when you're 3 people and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. Now, we're going to sit down with you and judge what kind of management team you are and whether we think it makes sense for us to invest in the relationship as well. I probably have 15 intros a month, and as a firm, we probably get 40 intros a month. And we probably, in terms of live clients, take on 2 or 3 of those, right? So it's process on our side too, because there's a lot of people come to you when it's too late. That's the other thing. If you come in my office and you say, I'm out of money in a month and no one, I don't have any M&A traction, can you help me? I can't. I just can't. There's no way for me to force someone to buy you or somebody to invest in you in that timeline. If you come to me when you're doing well and we work through the strategy together of getting you introduced to the buyers, then I can probably help you. But if you come to me when you're back, it's not that I wouldn't want to help you, but the myth about bankers is I can't make somebody buy you, right? I can introduce you to someone and then you have to make them want to buy you. No banker can force Google, Apple, Amazon, any of those guys to do anything they don't want to do. They get you the right people, and then it's on you to kind of sell why your company really matters to them.
Okay, I have a question in the back. Oh, yeah. Can you speak a bit more loudly?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do a lot of times in a process is the most competitive company gets the call last. Okay? So what you want to do, if Salesforce is the best buyer for your business ultimately, and probably the most competitive if you're an enterprise company, you want to get Microsoft or Oracle or SAP to lean in first. Let's assume that it's a CRM system. And you go to them once you know a deal's happening. Right? Because the last thing you want them to do is out-pitch against you and say, hey, that company's going out of business or they're going to be bought. So you wait until you know a deal's happening, i.e. you have a verbal offer or you have a term sheet. That's when you go to the most competitive best buyer at the very end. They also know you better than everybody else, and they can make the decision much faster than everybody else. So that's the only consideration I'd add. You rarely want to start with the best buyer. You want to go to them when you have leverage and competitive tension.
Okay, we're going to take maybe just 2 questions. So you in the back here.
So I know profitability is a bad word here in Valley species growth. Does profitability help the chances for a successful exit?
It's a good question. If your growth is the same, either way, yes, it helps. Because they can go to whoever their manager is. Even Google has tons of dough and they're very profitable. They don't want to pick up a business that's losing $3 million a month. It makes it a lot harder decision. But if you're foregoing growth and product advancement to become profitable, probably not a good trade-off.
Yeah, I heard a kind of interesting take. One guy in the different session said, if you're profitable means you run out of ideas, which is not a good thing.
Well, it's interesting. If you, we have an office in London, and our team there, they see profitable companies much earlier than we do because the VC ecosystem is a lot smaller. It's much more difficult to raise money there than it is here, so they actually run their businesses on a much kind of tighter leash.
Okay, we'll take final one. Yeah.
So it's too late to engage with a banker when you're losing, running out of money next month. When is the right time? When is too early?
Yeah, well, it really depends on where you're going. So too early is really just you have time, right? If you've got $20 million in the bank and that's 2 years of runway, you probably don't want to spend much time with a banker. There's probably not much you can add to your business, right? And so that can be early if it's just a distraction to you. If you want to think about proper planning and how you line up these companies so that you get a good M&A exit and somebody leans into you over those 2 years, then it could be a good use of your time. If you can't get to the right business people at the buyers, then some bankers can help you, right? What it's too early to do is sign an engagement letter with anybody. If you come to me and say, Will, here's what I'm building. I really want to get in front of these guys over the next 3, 6, 9 months. I want to engage with them, but I've got money. I'm going on this path. I'm not going to make you sign an engagement letter. That's way too early to sign up with any bank. Any bank that puts an engagement letter in front of you and says you need to sign here before I'll help you is the wrong bank, right? What I'm going to do is work with you for 6, 9, 12 months, and then I'm going to earn that engagement letter. I'm not going to lock you up to 2 years that you have to use me if I haven't done anything for you. So it can be too early to go to banks that say, I'm only going to pay attention to you if you sign an engagement letter, because they're not going to do much for you during that period, right? Because they've already got the business. It's too late. Every case is different, but if you're going to, again, you can't force a transaction. So even if you come to me with 6 months and you say, I have to be sold now in this 6 months, I have no interest, I haven't been working with any of these guys, no one's leaned in, can you help me? Even though you have a lot of runway, it might be hard to help you then, right? Because you need to establish these relationships as you build the company and get them to lean into you. It's very difficult, no matter when you come to me, to force a process. Does that make sense?
Okay, we're gonna have to stop here. I see there's more interest and more questions, so that's your chance to get Will's contact and asking more questions. Are you gonna be here part of the day, or do you have to head out?
I'll be here for about another 15 minutes.
Okay.
But you have my contacts, right?
I do. Certainly that. Maybe just like one quick question. I came across a blockchain company that kind of promises to get rid of bankers. What do you think about that?
I think, listen, there, as I said earlier, there's a lot of transactions you don't need a banker for. And you don't need to pay what a banker requires. The idea behind a banker is that on an M&A deal, if you're going to pay me $3 million, that I got you at least 10, 15, 20 million more. And sometimes it's hard to see directly that correspondence, but most people do. And that's why you can be in the industry for 18 years because you do get recommended to other people because you added value. Sometimes it's the difference between getting a deal done and not getting a deal done. But again, you don't need bankers on every deal. If there's one buyer, they've already leaned in, they're at the right place, don't hire a banker and pay him. But if they're not at the right place and you want to go to others, a banker can be very valuable.
Excellent. I think that will do. Thank you very much.